Hey y'all, it's your girl Mixed Girl Mane, just reminding you that all ManeHustle media shows during the month of August will be on hiatus. That's for Militantly Mixed, Black Radical Queer, Blurred Comics, and the Bi-Furious podcast with Mixed Girl Mane. All 4 shows are on summer break until September. This is a ManeHustle media podcast.
And welcome to the show. My name is Jackie O, and you're listening to Militantly Mixed.
Yo, this is Rashani from the Single Simulcast. And when I'm not making you laugh or making up parody songs, I'm kicking back, listening to Militantly Mixed.
Hey y'all, it's your girl Sharmane, aka Mixed Girl Mane, just jumping on real fast to remind you that even though ManeHustle Media is on hiatus during the month of August, Militantly Mixed is going to be sharing rerun episodes for the month of August. And I'm going to be sharing the episodes that I've received the most amount of emails about from audience members saying that the episode either was a reflection of their experience or it affected them the most or it had the most emotional impact. So starting with this episode number 33, the answer is Everything I Do is Mixed with my guest B. This episode, I've received the most amount of emails of any episode of all of Militantly Mixed history. It has impacted a great number of people, and I have even most recently received an email about it just a week ago. So, sit back, and if you've listened to it already, re-listen to it again. If you haven't discovered the show yet, this is a rerun of episode number 33. The answer is Everything I Do is Mixed. All right, so my guest this week is actually someone that the first time we talked was months and months ago, but due to California and other issues, holidays and stuff like that, we didn't get back together until just now. So I'm happy to welcome B. Johnson to the show. You found us because, like a lot of us, you needed mixedness and you needed to get in touch with other folks like you. So let's get into it. Why don't you share with the audience a little bit about yourself, introduce yourself, and then let's get into it.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you so much for having me. I can't believe that I'm here after finding it in the middle of the night, like searching on Facebook, just searching hashtags like biracial, help me, please. I'm lost.
A little support group, biracial, help me, please.
and here it is. And I love it. It's so awesome. A little bit about me. Let's see. My ethnicities have sort of been developing throughout my life because I have been given new information the older that I got. So if you want to get technical, because I have not yet taken my DNA test, I am definitely half German. My mom is completely German. She came from Germany when she was 7. And we have tons of traditions and, connections to family. And I still have family back in Germany. And we have German candles on our Christmas tree. And it is like super German over there.
Tannenbaum, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. And then my dad is, he's Black and Native American. We're Lakota Sioux. And apparently there's also some German sprinkled in there as well, which I found out when I was 17 or 18. I mean, I guess I should have known because he is kind of on the lighter skin side, but I did not know. Until I was probably, and I don't even think that I'm supposed to know. I'm pretty sure that was a secret that my mom let spill to me.
Oh, really? Why? Because it's like painful German mixing, or just he was quiet about it?
Well, no. My paternal grandfather died when my dad was really little, and then my grandma got remarried and was raised by my grandpa, who I thought was my grandpa the entire time. He raised my dad from the time he was a year or two old. So he's the guy. And he's super Black. Like, he's from Birmingham, Alabama. There's no question of what's going on there. But apparently my dad's biological father had some German in him. So my grandma says.
Oh.
Yeah. So a little bit more German than I had previously suspected. I mean, I guess it's good if it's German. I already know all about it.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it's less like an investigative or, oh my gosh, it's thrown my whole identity out of whack or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, we'll save that for when I take the DNA test. I've had it for a year and it's been sitting in the kitchen and I just can't bring myself to take it because I don't know what it's going to say. And it's been such a journey to try to make peace with where I am right now that, like, I don't know. I haven't taken it yet.
I think you had said that when we first spoke months ago as well. So just for, I guess, a little bit of background, it was middle of the night one night. You're dealing with, kind of like identity and mixed race connection and stuff like that. And you go on a search and you stumble on the Facebook page, or do you stumble on the podcast itself? It was
the Facebook page. Yeah, it was the Facebook page. And I just kind of threw something out there about how I think what I said, just to jump right into it, was that I always felt like if I had presented differently and like darker, that maybe my dad would have stuck around and been more involved in my life. Because my dad is mixed when my mom is German, and I was raised by my mom, and my dad has been sort of in and out of the picture pretty consistently, more consistently out than in.
Right.
But I've always had a really good relationship with his whole side of the family. Like, I see my grandma 1,000 times more than I see him, and I have cousins and stuff that, like, I'm able to be sort of close to. We were a lot closer when we were kids, and then, I don't know, life just happens and we kind of drifted away. And so in that drifting away, I feel like I've drifted away from all of that side of me,
Mm.
And I'm just kind of bumbling along like some, slightly dark-skinned white girl with curly hair and totally missing that piece. But as things happen, like in our world, it brings it up and it doesn't ever go away,
Right. And I think also around the timing that you discovered the show, or the Facebook group anyway, was around the time we had just posted, or nearly were about to post, our very first White Passing episode with Gretchen. And that one, for the longest time, that was like the most downloaded episode, because it seems to be more so than I ever knew that white passing biracial black and white folks are out here just like, who am I? And so you and a few others, some people who have actually been on the show and some people I'm still in talks with trying to get on the show, have all said a version of, especially if they're, whichever parent is their black parent, if I were darker, they would have bonded with me more, or they would have been here, or something like that. It is a very common thing that I've been experiencing. And you are the flip of me in that, I mean, we're both lighter skinned mixed girls, but like, I had a black dad that was around, but he was self-loathing black, even though he moved us to the hood and we were always around black people and things like that. He always reminded me what not to be. Don't be that black. Be, paler, I guess. And so, like, for me, I always wanted to be darker because I kind of wanted to be. I wanted to fit more in where I grew up, but I find that more beautiful than paleness, and I also connect to it more. But I'm not. Yeah, man,
you want that black girl magic, right? I want that black girl magic.
And I think there's also a little bit of, because I have I had such a cantankerous relationship with my dad. If I were darker, then maybe he wouldn't want to be in my life. So I have I had the flip of your experience. But it's interesting to hear how, gosh, I swear, every time you hear a privileged person say that race is not that big of an issue, and then you talk to one of us.
Oh God, it's a huge issue.
It's such a huge, there's so many facets of our day to day that most people wouldn't even realize connect, especially for us mixed folks, connect to our mixed race identities. We're not enough of, why can't I be more like, why can't I look like this? What's going on with my hair? We have so many elements of our day to day that ends up connecting to who we are. And then on top of it, which family members give a shit about us and which ones aren't cool because we're mixed. You know, that's a whole nother aspect.
Right. And
lives.
then the thing about it is that when you are so white presenting, it's all happening inside. And, you know, nobody else sees it. I mean, certainly occasionally I get called out, and, you know, it's like the boost for, like you said, it's for like a day or a week. It's like my boost for like the quarter or 6 months. You know, I'm so happy. But on the flip side, have always had kids telling me, like, when, you know, I'd say that I was, you know, mixed or half black, because that's what I thought I was when I was little. I thought I was half black. They tell me, no, you're not. And I'd have to bring in a picture of me and my dad to school, to elementary school, to show them. And like, if you don't really have a relationship with your dad, it kind of is shitty to have to drag a picture of him around to prove that you are, you know, mixed or whatever. And so to have people like not believe who you are or your experience or like what it was like for me when I was at my grandma's house every other weekend, you know, it's crazy.
Right. But really, it's only because you're pale. Honestly, because with your hair and even to me, your facial structure, I feel like I see, like, I feel like you could be, and if I say this on the solo podcast, I feel like you could be one of my cousins because you actually look really similar to like my next in line cousin who is similar to you in that light skin, sandy colored curly hair thing that you have. So like, I feel like I see it. And I think maybe what is really healthy, especially while we go and do these searches online when we're trying to connect with someone, is surrounding yourself by other people that can see you. I mean, it's literally why I do this show.
Yeah. You're just bringing them in.
Yeah. It's just like, I'm just collecting. It's kind of my little Pokemon game because I was too old for Pokemon when it came out, but like, I understand it. I get the concept. You got to collect one of each. So like, I want to hear like, you know, what it is for you so that I can just be a part of it. Like, hey, you know, talk about it, help be a person that can connect, because that's the thing that has been giving me life about this show. And from our conversation early on, and then also like our Facebook messages back and forth, I think that was a thing that you were just like, in that space, that particular night, you needed that. Yeah,
I think it just comes with a lot of questions. It's always been questions and trying to figure myself out and trying to figure the family out and, you know, figure out what's going on. Like, you know, learning how to code switch as a baby and, you know, talking differently to my mom than I did to my grandma and trying to figure out why. No one could figure out why I wouldn't talk when my mom was dropping me off. Like, I was super quiet. And then as soon as she left, I like, you know, go out and play with my cousins.
But so she couldn't hear you black it up?
No. No, there was never any of that, you know, and so I don't, you know, obviously I don't think that my mom really cares for my dad very much. And she dropped me off at my grandma's house all the time. She's raising me as a single mom and, you know, needed the time to like, you know, go to school or to be perfectly honest, I have no idea what she did. She just dropped me off there and I loved it. Right. But it was just a completely different situation. Like my mom is just like the quintessential white woman, you know, she's a vegan right now. Not that that's specifically a white woman thing, but we're trying
to come out black vegans. We're trying to be
there. You go. But like, you know, she goes jogging and, you know, she's so white. She's so white. And, in everything, you know, and to go to my grandma's house where like my cousins were over there and like my aunts and uncles and, you know, they're like playing gin rummy out in the backyard and like the kids are running around. And I had so much more freedom there because my mom was super strict with everything, with what I did and with my diet. And over at my grand's house, I was just one of the many cousins just running amok and nobody really gave me a second look. And I was certainly the whitest kid there. I mean, I think I sent you a picture of me at my cousin's birthday party and it's just this tiny little white face in this like sea of people, you know, but I didn't know. I had no idea, you know, they all loved me. Nobody cared.
Yeah. That's a precious time before we realize that. And I've tried to make a personal pledge to stop referring to us as different or realizing we are different and tried to put the difference on the monoracial people. Like, you guys are different. But I'm trying to not do that, but I'm about to do it here. like that time before we realize that we are different from the people around us and we're just happy and blissful.
Yeah. You know, and a lot of it, I think, especially as you grow up and you start to question like what's going on and who you are. For me specifically, I just had those pieces of, you know, what I thought was, when you're little, it's all of you. I am, you know, the kid at my grandma's house. I'm the kid at my mom's house. And while there were some differences, you know, like I said, like I was quiet when my mom was around. It was basically the same kid, you know, and as I got older, it was like layers started to get peeled away and it became really apparent to me that it was different over there, you know?
Yeah. But like, I get that too. It's just that it's amazing that you learn to code, or that we learned to code switch so early and not even have, like, I didn't even have the word or the language for it.
No, I didn't know what it was until you said it.
Oh, really?
It's like, that's what it is. Yes. Like I'd seen it done, certainly. God, it always bums me out when somebody like puts a Becky voice on for me. I'm like, no, don't. I don't want the Becky voice.
Oh, no. Oh, that's probably a whole different experience for you too, versus what it might be like. Like for me, the hardest part about, if I were even to attempt to hide my blackness, is my name. You know. I mean, you technically have a name that is very popular on the Black side. I don't know if that's your dad's name or your mom's name.
That's my dad's name, yeah.
Your dad. So, you know, we have the same last name. But my maiden name is Franklin. And so, like, hearing Sharmane Latrice Franklin shouted across the neighborhood, no one was going to be surprised to find out I had a Black parent, you know?
Right, right.
So if I'm in a workspace and I'm surrounded by white people and I'm using my Becky voice, it is even more confusing because they're like, how do you look like this, but have a Black name, but also talk like a white person? You know, like there's a whole series of problems that happen when I go into a space.
Right. You got to be a chameleon, you know, you're sort of everything and nothing all at the same time.
Right. And in your case, like, because if someone's not trying to find it, they'll just go with the white or whatever. I get it. I understand that happens. I mean, if we had met on the street, it wouldn't have happened. In fact, I mean, I don't know if we said that, if we talked about this, but the mixed version of Punch Buggy, where you see another mixed person and you're just like, I got you, you know, like I see you from across the way. You know, if I had walked past you down the street, you'd probably get a furrowed brow while I'm going, she looks like she's incognito. You know, like I'm wondering what's going on there.
But it's so funny because I feel like I live in like the North Bay area, like north of San Francisco, and it is white here. Like the diversity is not around. And so I feel like I get it more because when I'm out walking around, like the people of color that I see who are out walking around, we're like, you're looking for each other, you know?
Right.
But it just doesn't happen that often because there aren't that many Black people here.
Do you ever get called out by white people that you don't look quite right?
Oh, yeah.
White. Shit.
You don't look quite white. Yeah, definitely. And it's, you know, it's the standard, like, what are you? You're so interesting. You know, tell me about your heritage. Like, where are you from?
Okay.
And, you know, yeah, but usually not. Usually it's just sort of glossed over. And also, I mean, maybe this was like, I feel like this is like a school thing because it doesn't really happen so much, or maybe adults have learned how to like mind their manners a little bit more, but to straight out tell me that I'm lying when it happens to like I out myself as mixed, that's kind of stopped, thankfully.
Yeah, I guess that is true. I used to get you're lying, but I don't get it anymore. But I wonder if that's weird. It's because when you're saying it reminds me of adults telling me I was lying when I was a teenager. But now that I'm an adult, I don't hear people say that. I think people are have just gotten a little more tactful because I know, I mean, like my boyfriend had no idea that I was mixed until I told him. He wasn't even the least bit like, no, I don't even want to use this language, right? Like the least bit suspecting that you weren't just a white girl, quote unquote.
No, I mean, he thought maybe a little something Latin, obviously, because that's what we get, you know, but no, he was floored and, you know, didn't care, which is nice. He's a nice guy, you know, but like we've been talking about this a little bit and he was asking me because we live in such a predominantly white area. He was like, what because we were like talking about, the show and my experience, and we just started talking about it a little bit more because he knows all about it now, and was saying like, what is it? Like, what do you do that's mixed? Because I don't see you do anything that's mixed.
Oh, wow. What would even that be, though? That's a very strange question to be confronted with.
It was a super strange question, and it took me a really long time to think about it. And that's because the answer is so obvious, which is that everything that I do is mixed because I'm the one who's doing it.
You're mixed.
Everything that comes in through my eyes and my ears is run through my mixed ass filter.
Yeah.
Always.
Well, you got to that answer a lot quicker than I would have, because I would have been focusing on I would have taken it in the defensive route where I would have been like, well, what do you do that's white? Or
I did.
Okay,
no. I'm telling you how it happened now, but it took me like 2 weeks and I was pissed.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's a shock.
What do you mean?
Yeah, that's identity is a bitch, man. I swear, like, as stable as I come off about my mixedness, and I'm just like, look, I'm a mixed as fuck person, and da-da-da-da, there are still things that trigger, and it's one of the few times in which I think using the word trigger is appropriate. I really hate how overused that word is, but in this case, it's certainly a trigger. If someone either questions how obsessed with race I am, or questions my blackness, something like that, and I get really defensive, I'm just like, I'm still ready to be on edge about some of these things. And yet at the same time, I'm also super duper grounded in my mixedness. Like before, I was a black girl who was mixed. Now I'm a mixed girl who is black. And those are very different things to me. And that was like a huge transition of me kind of discovering to get there. But you're kind of in it right now, right? You're still just trying to...
Yeah, I'm in it right now and trying to figure out how it's all happening. And, I wonder if taking the DNA test is sort of a piece to that. And it feels weird because it feels like I'm not looking for the answers to my DNA. I'm looking for my dad's DNA because I know what my mom is. We know many generations back what she is. I'm totally not interested or concerned because I've always had so much access to that,
Right.
I want to know what's going on the other side. And it's been sort of worrying me because as I've grown up, like as a little kid thinking I was half black, and then being able to relate that there was this Lakota aspect to it, which is awesome and has been really interesting to learn about and stuff. And then to find out that there was even more German mixed in, like I feel like I'm just like losing my blackness piece by piece. It's getting stripped away. And you had a guest on, like I binged like pretty much the whole series, but you had a guest on who, was black and took the DNA test and found out that he was like 20% white or something, but like totally identified. Yeah. As a black man. And I'm like, man, like not even the black people are completely black. Like it's okay.
It's part of our trauma. Yeah.
Right. It's, it's okay. And like for me to be mixed and, like even you, like, I don't know, I see you as, like you said, like you view yourself as, how is it now?
I used to view myself as a black girl who was mixed, and now I view myself as a mixed girl who is black.
Right.
I can explain one day what that is, but, these episodes are about y'all. So a couple things you've said that I've heard from other people too, but I want to grab you on it because you're the person I'm talking to right now, is that thing, you didn't say the word permission, but you seem to reference things that seem like you don't believe you have permission to own your ethnicities. I understand us not having access to cultures that we're mixed. Like once we find out what our different ethnicities are and we don't have access to those cultures, I totally understand not feeling fully comfortable in taking ownership of those cultural aspects of it. And even I guess by extension, it also comes with you saying, yes, I'm black or yes, I'm Lakota. But in your case, what is, if you even know, what is holding you back from feeling that you have full on ability to say that you are? I mean, if you knew your dad is black, what is preventing you from thinking that you are half black?
I mean, the math of it, certainly. And I guess a little bit of how I was raised, because I wasn't raised by my dad, like at all, pretty much. You know, I was raised by my mom. And while I grew up in an area where, you know, you could get to the hood, you could drive to it, and that's where my grandma was, like I lived in like rural, like farmy sort of like, you know, white girls with horses area. And that was what I grew up with. And that's who my friends were. And I had one mixed kid in school with me in like elementary school and junior high. And, you know, he and I got along great, and I loved his parents. They were super nice, and I really liked his dad, and he was darker than me, and his dad stayed. And so maybe that's when I figured out that like, I was, you know, which obviously isn't the case. Like my dad has a whole host of problems, and he's an alcoholic, and it's not like he's, you know, taking care of other kids who happen to come out darker, you know. And that's the other thing, is that I have 3 sisters on my mom's side. They're my half sisters, and they're completely white, but they're like my sisters, and I've been raised with them and everything. But that's sort of my family, and it's white over there, you know?
Right. So did you think of yourself as like part-time Negro?
Yeah.
And as an adult, because you have so much limited access to other Black people, maybe not just people of color, but certainly, do you feel like, so what you said was you feel like your Blackness is kind of being chipped away at you based off of the math and, you know, other things.
Yeah. And just, you know, how much time I'm able to like spend with my family, which, you know, with that side of the family, which isn't a lot, you know. And it's never, I don't know, pretty much like when I was little, it seemed like I could slip in and out of each side. But about from the time that I kind of got some awareness of myself as like a preteen or a teenager, it was like that my Blackness was something that I could go and visit, but it would have to stay there. It did not come home with me.
Right. So that I understand quite a bit, because when I was with my Japanese side, I could be Japanese there. I couldn't be Black, but I could be Japanese there. But when I left, or if we were out in public with my Japanese side and we ran into other Japanese people, I was no longer Japanese again. I was a friend's kid or something, because of the complication of the fact that I was mixed, that my grandmother didn't know if I was detectably black to non-Black people, and the fact that my mom was a teenager. So the math didn't check out.
Yeah. No. Can't have that.
Yeah. So there's like a lot of complicated things. And so, but I didn't realize it was bad, or that it didn't start to make me feel bad until I got into that time, that preteen time where you're sort of identifying who you are and or at least wrestling with your identity for the first time.
Right. And I sort of like, I saw that my cousins were like able to go, and like a couple of my cousins have been able to like go and live with my grandparents for a time when they were like teenagers and kind of acting up and stuff, like when I was a teenager as well. And I'm like, damn, like why? Because my mom was like really, really controlling with like all the rules and stuff. And like, she was just trying to be a good mom and keep me out of trouble, but it just wanted me to get in more trouble, you know? And I'm like, why,
right.
what do I got to do? How can I be bad enough to like get sent to my Black grandma's house, you know, to like go hang out there, and like, I want to go to, you know, a different high school and do the thing. And it was not until I was probably like an early adult that I realized that it wasn't because my cousins were messing up. It's because their parents didn't have their, you know, their shit together. And
right.
My mom clearly had her shit together real well, and there was not a chance that she was gonna like send me to Rancho to go live with my grandma.
Right.
It's not
and
gonna happen.
it probably wouldn't even have occurred to her, like culturally. You go to your grandmother when you're in trouble, you know, like, and that was, in my case, it wasn't go to your grandmother because you're in trouble. It was go to your grandmother. Like you said, my parents didn't have their shit together. They were kids themselves. So I at least do have that access. And so in that case, like, I do feel like I can claim Japanese and I can claim British cultures because I spent time inside both of those grandmothers' houses, but like, I don't feel comfortable claiming the German Irish side because I don't know that man. Like, I met him a couple of times, and then he really wasn't part of our lives. He could be alive or dead. We're in North Highlands right now. I have no idea, you know. And so I list it as my ethnicity, but I don't claim it as my culture. And I think what I'm kind of wanting to get with, I guess, or whatever with you is understanding, like, as you feel that your Blackness is kind of being chipped away from the math of it all, and even to a degree from the culture, when you really still think about it, when you still lay it out, you spent time in your grandmother's house, you spent time immersed in that culture. And even though you were getting removed from it more and more as an adult, it's still a big part of how you were shaped, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
absolutely.
Like, your blackness is there.
Right, but nobody can see it. Like, it's like a ghost, you know?
And it's probably going to feel like that for a long time. And unless you move to an area in which you do have more access or whatever, I don't know why this has turned into this kind of a conversation, but this is how I feel about this kind of stuff. This show has made me more and more aware of our need as mixed people for acceptance within all of our different groups, right? And you said something that I could totally dig in on is like, you already are secure on the German side. You don't need to know any more about them, and not even necessarily curious and investigating further, because they at least have their documentation in order. You get it. So right now it's the stuff you don't know, and not only the stuff that you don't know, but you have to be accepted by them, but you also have to accept yourself in them. And that is what I think happens a lot to the white presenting mixed folks, is that you don't often accept yourself. You don't feel that just because randomly you ended up more white looking than anything else that you're mixed with, you don't feel like you have permission or access to mixedness. And I'm telling you, insert, like, it is part of who you are. It is. And it's not like you were adopted and you found out later on, oh shit, I'm actually more black. You know, I'm black, but I was raised by white people. Okay, you have the absence of your father. I totally understand it, but you don't have the absence of your mother, your grandmother, and your cousins. It's in there. You're just not around it that much. It doesn't mean it goes away. And so, like, I think what started happening to me over the course of doing the show is, at first it was about connecting with other mixed people, and then it was the more I learned about our various experiences, the common thing that kept popping up that we all at one point or another have dealt with is, am I enough of fill in the blank? And I probably, you know, as a teenager, I probably would have said no, because I was also I was in that quest too. But now I hear our stories and I'm like, yeah, the fuck we are. And that's where, like, be your mixed ass self started to come up and boil up. It was like, stop feeling like you don't have access. Insert, be your mixed ass self, own it and claim it. Because the thing is, and I was talking to an old friend from high school who I haven't seen in since high school, for the show. He's going to be on our next episode. And he said to me, one of the things that he remembered about me is that I was like relentlessly mixed. He didn't quite say those words. He said, and it was before we started recording. And then later on, he calls me something else, which I really enjoy. And I'm leaving in the episode. But like, the way we were talking about it before we started recording is like, you didn't let anybody not accept you as mixed. I don't know what it was about me at that time that I decided to force it on people, but I wasn't believing it in myself at the time I was forcing it on people, because I was dealing with that journey. And now that I do this show and I hear all of us talking, I want to insert that into you guys too. Like, whatever was making me fake it until I felt it, I want you to feel that way too, because I know how much you need. To give us the gift of that. But that's totally what the show does, because I found it and I binged it and I like cried several times, and I'm like, man, I'm not alone, because I don't have like the benefit of having, like, I don't have mixed cousins. I don't have brothers and sisters, you know, like who are the same as me. I feel like I'm this, you know, one tiny little, you know, sort of quasi white girl who can never find sunglasses that fit on the bridge of her nose, and like ever. And like my hair, and, you know. Right. I get the hair. It gives it away. The hair gives it away to me too. When I saw you for the first time, and I know we also did the FaceTime or whatever, and it was kind of it was that really bad patch of time because the fires were happening, and so like the connection wasn't great, but I could still see like all your hair and stuff. I'm like, yeah, yeah. There's a lot of it, and it kind of does its thing, and I get out of the way, and it was really nice to finally like discover mixed girl hair products and not be using, you know, the crunchy early 2000s gel on it and stuff like that. Right. No, I think what the show has done for me, it's so weird that this episode is so self-referential. Like, I guess we've been out long enough for that to be a possibility, but it's given me this gift of realizing that, like, what I needed when I was a teenager was someone to say, hey, mixed girl, I see you.
Yes.
I'm now trying to do that for whoever is willing to talk to me. I mean, I'm also trying to steal your stories because I want to, like, I greedily want to hear, like, what was it like for you? And then go, oh, me too. Or, oh, that's the opposite of me. That's cool. We're the same and we're different. I don't feel this same level of bond. I always felt like it was enough for me to connect with other Black people. And it was like, as long as they could see me even a little bit, our experiences were going to be the same. But as I get older and I realize our world is such that, you know, I'm not going to experience the same kind of harassment by the police as my darker skinned counterparts are, you know, or even though I have a name that I don't always get passed over for a job. Once someone sees me, I can see the relief in their faces when they see me, right, knowing that they've seen my name and they're trying to figure out how does someone with that name have that resume. And then they see me and they're like, whew, you know, I've seen it. I've seen it so many times. It fucking sucks. But like all those things that I needed as a teenager, I realizing that there was literally nothing. And also I was a teenager pre-internet. So there was literally no place for me to go unless it was other mixed cousins or other mixed people at school. And we just happened to bond on this. But I'll tell you, in the hood, none of us wanted to be mixed. None of us wanted to tell, you know, we wouldn't want to dime on each other. We just like, let's just be Black. Okay. Let's just be Black. And so like you on the flip of that, where I think you and Gretchen and Rebecca, also another episode, and Zach, another mostly white presenting biracial person that's been on the show. Like, I think all of you have had that similar thing where it's just like, I just needed you just need somebody to be like, go ahead, mixed girl, do your thing. And I'm just like, yeah, go ahead, mixed girl, do your thing. So I want you to, I know it's difficult where you live and stuff like that, but I want you to be comfortable to join those groups. Like we were talking about earlier, can you insert yourself into these groups being, oh, that's raising a question for me right now. Sorry, I'm going on a tangent.
No.
How do you receive the term woman of color? How does it feel for you?
Like a club that I'm not allowed in.
Really? Mm-hmm. And is that because of your own perspective of what you look like and how you present, or what you think you will be perceived about or have been perceived as?
I think it's a position that I have not had the trials and tribulations to, you know what I mean? Like I can't be in that club because I'm not profiled. If I'm pulled over, I'm fine, you know?
Right. Well, okay. So Gretchen said something like this too on our first white passing episode, where she said she didn't want to be in a corporate environment. She didn't want to take a seat at the table. She didn't want to take the diversity hire. She didn't basically. Right. So at work, she would keep it close to the chest so that she doesn't get used as a diversity hire in place of someone of quote unquote actual diversity, which I do respect and appreciate. And yet at the same time want you guys to be able to have that seat, a seat, maybe not the diversity hire seat, but the other part of, I mean, it is.
I don't know, when you think about like all the people that you've had on this show and all the people that are listening to the show. And I mean, if you just do the math, like how many millions of mixed people there must be out in the world, like maybe we get our own seat. Like maybe it's its own thing. The intersectionality is something that, like, I know it's becoming like a buzzword and everything like that, but it's legitimately what we are. I mean, we are standing, like, just you and I talking alone. We are both women. We are both mixed race women. We are both, well, we both have German and Black in us. So we have all this. But you're a mother, right? You have children? Yeah. You're a mother. So there's all these other levels of things that do bring a pool of diversity into any space that you occupy. And so I don't remember who it is who has the quote where it's like Shirley Chisholm, where she was like, if there's not a seat at the table for me, I bring my own chair, or something. That idea sticks in my head where this is concerned. It's that even though I understand that you do present whitish, I think folks can detect it. I think maybe not white folks, but I think if you spend enough time in Black spaces, it would be seen. Well, it is, it's not like it never happens. It actually often happens, especially because, like I said, in such a predominantly white area, we're looking for each other, you know?
Right.
Everybody's radar is tuned a little bit more than, you know, if you're in a really mixed area, predominantly Black area.
The thing about the Black American experience specifically, in terms of all Black people on the planet, specifically to Black Americans, you know, our Black stories are complicated. There's not going to be many, even dark-skinned people who have been here for generations. There's not going to be many that are going to come out 100% African ancestry. You know, we have colonial rape, we have slavery rape, we have, you know, then it becomes Jim Crow era, then it comes up, you know, the civil rights era, stuff like that. We have all of that going on. And then later on, like in my time, we have voluntary mixedness. So like our stories as Black people are complicated, and you should have more seats in the discussion than just those who are able to identify as fully Black. You know, and there's the other part of our history being stolen from us. So forget the fact that like as full grown ass women, we have parents that maybe not were a part of our whole life, you know, forget that is a thing, because that's just one other element of our story. You know, there's also, if I do start digging, am I even going to be able to find what I'm looking for? There's the fear, like, and I had that fear deeply, and it's what took me so long to take the DNA test as well. I don't want to find out I'm 9% African, because my whole fucking identity has been based off of me being Black in my mixedness, you know? Right. So I was terrified. I actually was. I made jokes about it. And I even made a joke about it on an early episode of the show. Like I spit in the tube already, but I don't know. But what happens if I come out like 9%, 13%? It's going to fuck up my identity. It actually would probably have messed up my identity. I don't think I would have been able to change at this point, though, because like I did grow up surrounded by Black people in a Black family with a Black father. You know, you're not going to be able to take it all the way away from me. But the genetics would have messed with me a little bit. Now that I'm post DNA exam and I know my story to a degree, you know, I know my ethnic mapping. The math is not impacting me that much. At the same time, I still come through at about 23% African ancestry, which was like, whoo! I didn't know it was going to be, like, I knew it should have been close to 25 because I'm a quarter Black, but in this case, getting just 23 was like, oh, thank goodness. We're more Black than I you know, was anticipating, you know. And I know, like, I think a lot of us have this same kind of thing. It's like, because somebody that I did interview for the show had sent me a message, and they were like, my DNA came back like 79% or 69%, whatever it was the 9, right? And it was like, why couldn't it have just been 1 more percent? Like that 1 more percent, that round number would have made me feel would have a lot changed better. It. And now I get that, and I'm not letting the math part affect me as much as the culture, because I think mixed race identity isn't just the skin color. I think it has to be the culture too.
Yeah, I feel like that's part of what makes it so confusing, you know, because I have that piece and nobody else can see, you know, what it was like for me to be a little kid. And, you know, you just kind of walk around so unseen all the time.
Right.
And feeling like you don't belong. But I think that there's really something to this, like to the mixed seat at the table, because I have made my peace with the not having the Black seat. You know what I mean? Like, but like I said, when like my boyfriend asked me, like, what do you do that's mixed? Everything. Everything that I do is mixed because I'm the one who's doing it, you know?
And that's actually like one of the most awesome things to come to, even given that you still occasionally are dealing with your identity. The fact that you are, at least at that point, everything I do is mixed. That's one more step to being like, yes, I'm a woman of color. Yes, I can join in at that. I understand too that you would probably be facing it in a variety of different issues, like your own personal view of yourself, the person who can't see your mixedness and therefore doesn't accept it, or the person that says, yeah, I get it, you're mixed, but you won't have it as hard as me, because I've gotten that several times.
Right.
That I've stopped letting bother me, because I know that I have my own trials, you know, my own version of it. Well, okay, that's not fair. I won't say that it stopped bothering me. It definitely still kind of bothers me. But I'm not letting it dominate my decisions about where I try to insert myself, I guess.
It's just this whole idea of like enough. Like, when are you going to be enough? When are you going to be Black enough? When are you going to be mixed enough? Like, seen enough? You know,
I think that like this, the trick
that
is
we're always chasing, you know?
Yeah. And I think the trick is when you decide. And that is what takes forever. That's right. That's what takes until we're 40 or 50 years old. We're just like, fuck it, I'm enough. Right. But like, yeah, I mean, I'm 41 now. And I'm there. I'm like, yeah, I'm enough. I still wish I was darker, but fuck it, I'm enough. Here's my experience. I don't need to show my credentials. I still do show my credentials on occasion, but you know what I'm saying? Like, for the most part, I'm just like, I finally accepted it for myself that I'm enough. And I wonder if someone had tried to instill those things in me when I was a teenager, if it would have made an impact, or if I still needed to go through the sort of trying on of races, you know, until I felt comfortable. I don't know. But what I would like to know is that that opportunity is possible, because it wasn't possible when I was growing up. So now, is it possible for all of us to adopt a mixed kid that is going through it, you know, whether they're related to us or not, and just be like, hey, kid, you're enough. Whichever identity you go with is fine, you know, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, because I feel like often their parents, like, they don't see that. You know, you think about, you can have the idea maybe of what it's like to be mixed as a monoracial parent, but you don't know. You totally don't know. You know, really we gotta buddy up with these kids, you know?
Yeah, it's almost like wanting to do like a big brother, big sister program specifically for people who are raising mixed race kids, and be just like, look, you're not going to have the tools. Because even me, both of my parents are biracial, and they didn't prepare me for shit. Like, they didn't have the language because their parents didn't have the language. And by the time they had me, they were teenagers. So they didn't even have like life experience to prepare them to deal with raising a mixed race kid, let alone the mixediest of mixed race kids, like triracial, you know, kind of a kid who, you know, like you said, from a baby, you're code switching, and you don't even know. It's just inherent because you have to. You identify early on, what is the code I'm supposed to be right here. And that's an amazing tool that we do have. I assume monoracial people have a version of it too, but to the degree that we do,
yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know. I mean, yeah, maybe it is. And maybe primarily, and, you know, I don't have a problem saying this, maybe primarily any person of color has this certainly more than a white person. Definitely more than a white person who grows up in privilege. What switching do they have to do ever? You know, code switching is a double-edged sword. Sometimes it works and it helps us feel comfortable. And sometimes you're watching Obama go from Iowa to Virginia and code switch, and you're like, no. Or I guess right now it's Kamala is doing that. Yeah. But yeah, like I think there is something to internally deciding that you're enough, and then surrounding yourself by people like us that are going to be like, yes, you are.
Right. Like, it's okay to just be you, and whatever that is, and to just be your mixed ass self.
Yep. And that's what I just love that.
I do too.
I love being able, and at this point, and I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or what, I love making people uncomfortable when they want to pigeonhole me and
put you in a box. You're like, no.
It just like blocking every time they do it. It's so much more fun now than when I was like 20 and someone goes like, you're so exotic, where are you from? And I'm like, well, you know, and just accepting it and feeling like I had to answer. I love that now.
Right. Or like, can I touch your hair?
Oh, fucking people with the hair. Who wants to touch hair? I do not understand this. I have never, ever, ever in my life in a non-sexual situation wanted to touch somebody's hair. I don't.
It's a weird thing. It is a weird thing.
It's so, or at least maybe even going further, a stranger. I have never ever wanted to, in a non-sexual way, touch a stranger's hair. Like,
no, me neither.
Like when you're a kid, you're like, braid my hair. And you're like, okay, I'll braid your hair. You know, that is different. Right. But like walking up and being like, hello, exotic, can I touch you? You know, what the fuck is that?
Yeah.
I don't.
It makes you feel like you're in a zoo.
Yeah. And that is a big part of the mixed race experience, is feeling like even from the side we identify with the most, when they other us, you're like, fuck, I can't go nowhere, you know? Because as much as I love being accepted and seen as black, the second a black person reminds me I'm mixed, that no, it ruins my day. Like even now it can ruin my day. And yet and here I am proudly mixed and having a podcast about being mixed. But if a black person's like, yeah, but you're mixed, you know, so like I get all the things, I do, but at the same time, I want to be just like slashing those away and not letting them penetrate any of us. And I'm trying to use my show as a way of doing that. So
I think they just must not know like what they're saying, you know, maybe they're just curious, you know, like, what are you? Can I touch your hair? Like, you know,
but still, like, can you put yourself in that? Can you, like, even if you're trying really hard, can you put yourself in that position where you'd be like, you're so different from me. I want to touch you to figure out that you're like, I can see that you're different from me. Why do I need to touch it?
No, I certainly, I don't know. Maybe that's just because I have my own bubble that I like to stay in and I don't need other people like in my bubble. And I don't know. I guess I'm not compelled to touch strangers.
Yes.
I'm not sure why people think that they have access to, like, at least they ask, I guess, right?
I guess better than the ones that just touch. But a lot of them are asking while they're reaching out for you.
Oh, totally.
And in those cases,
totally.
Those are really rough because you're in this like a fight or flight, right? Do I knock your hand away? Do I freeze and let you do it? You know, or do I run the fuck off? It's so bizarre. I don't get it. And I'm trying, I try to figure this out in any way, but there is never, I barely want to touch people that I care about because I'm British and Japanese. Like, we're not huggy people. It takes me a long time to get affectionate. And sometimes I lose people because I can't get affectionate fast enough. But like, a stranger, like, I don't even want to shake a stranger's hand, let alone put my hand in their head. Like, what the hell is going on with people?
Yeah, my mom said that used to happen a lot when I was little, that people would just come up and touch me because I looked way more mixed, I guess, when I was little. And because my mom didn't know how to do my hair, it was just like fuzzy. And
that's
like,
always the tell.
Yeah. My aunts tried, bless them. They're like, you need to do something about, you know, her hair. And she's like, no, it's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, I swear every time.
It wasn't fine. Like, I look at pictures and I'm like, Mom, you can't brush it.
Oh,
Stop.
Gosh. And all the broken, like, how much healing your hair probably would have had to go through to just like be healthier as you got older. I swear, every time you see a little mixed kid with the fuzzy head and you're just like, oh, white mom, like, show me your white mom. Take me to your white mom so that I can take your white mom to a black salon. Yeah, it's so sad.
And like, my hair isn't even super, like, it's curly and it's more curly in the back and, you know, it tries to dread up and do its thing a little bit, but it's not, you know, kinky or anything.
Yeah.
It's not my mom's stick straight hair and she didn't know what to do with it and didn't know that you can't brush it. And, you know, it was a mess.
There should be. And maybe that's one of my missions, is to create some sort of like how to raise a mixed kid series of classes. And then it will have a hair component and a how do you talk to them component. How do you lift them up and make them feel comfortable in their mixed ass skin?
Right. And like, bless her heart, she tried, and like, because she got me the black Cabbage Patch doll, but like, that doll didn't look like me either, you know. It was a black Cabbage Patch doll. I'm like, thanks, I guess, you know. It was my favorite, but
yeah,
it wasn't what I was looking for, you know.
You're just craving anything that even remotely. But yeah, these types of things, and it's nice. Like, gosh, it's so nice to talk to other people that have this type of thing. Like, it's just another way of feeling not alone. I think the common theme of mixedness is being alone, because even when you have siblings that are mixed, like my brother and I have a totally different mixed race experience, and we cannot communicate about it. He doesn't like to talk about it.
Right, and you were like raised in the same house by the same people and just came out completely different.
And he's white and I'm black. Basically, that's kind of how we turned out. And I make a joke that it's because of our names. I bleep his name out for the show, but his name's
Oh, and
I'm Sharmane. So like, duh, you know, like, duh that we came out the way that we are. But yeah, like, I almost feel like our names profiled us in some way, shape, or form. Like, it just decided, like, you're going to be the white one. You're going to be the black one. Enjoy your life. Enjoy never talking about it to each other. But yeah, it's just, so what, I don't even know if this is an actual question. Like, what keeps you in the space that you're in?
I don't know that I'm being kept in the space that I'm in. I think for a long time, I was sort of just trying to like live and survive and raise my kids and do all that. And I didn't really have the luxury of looking to like discover myself sort of, or even any idea of where to start or how to start. And like addressing my relationship with my dad is super painful. And I didn't really want to do that. And I can't think about that I can't think about my mixedness and my blackness without thinking about him and, wondering what it would have been like if he was around and if it would have been any different. And so, I did a lot of shoving of that, and I'm finally sort of in a place in my life. My kids are a little older. It's a little easier to parent them. And I'm sort of having my, I don't know, like second puberty or something where I'm kind of figuring myself out like, oh shit, here I am. I'm a grown up, like, what am I now? That I've kind of slowed down a little bit. And yeah.
How are you with describing the mixed identity to your own kids? Because I think you said they're pretty white looking too, right?
Yeah. Their dad is white, and they're both pretty white looking. They both tan up pretty dark in the summer, like real dark. Like darker than me, one of them even. And she's got darker hair, and they're both getting curly hair as they kind of get older and start to enter puberty. They're both getting curly hair. So I'm watching and I'm interested to see what happens, but I'm super open and honest with them. I mean, they've met that whole side of the family. They know what it is, but they don't see it every weekend like I did, Right. And I mean, it comes up during Black History Month and, that kind of thing. Yeah. And that was always my sort of running joke in school was like, which half of Black History Month am I going to celebrate? Am I going to do the first half or the second half? Or like maybe this year I'll go every other day.
Oh, man. So the other day somebody posted, and then my mixed friend sent me this with the message, "This is not funny." And it was a picture of Uncle Ruckus from the Boondocks cartoon. And it said, "You mixed ones get to celebrate Black History Month until February 14th. And I told that to my husband, and he instantly laughed at it, which I expected that he would, because he grew up primarily white, but he's white and Arabic. And I know that he doesn't quite have the sensitivity to understand why that would bother me or why it bothered my mixed Black friend too. It's just like, it's a yet another reminder that even though we're part of the family, we're not enough. We only get half the month, or whatever. And like, part of me wants to laugh at it, and part of me also is hurt by it. And I think that's like the common thing about anything related to mixedness, is that part of it always hurts.
Right. And I mean, that was sort of like, that's not something that I would say today. I should clarify, like as a kid growing up, that was sort of my kind of joking,
it was your cope for it,
yeah. And it was like, I'd have to like sort of like come out of the closet every year, you know what I mean? Like pop my head up like a fucking groundhog or something. Like, I'm here.
I'm Black now.
Let's do Black history.
Yeah. I have tons of those types of things. And there's some that I even have I still start to say, and then I catch myself and I'm like, am I still saying this? Like, am I okay that I'm still saying this? Is this still funny? Was it ever? That's the other thing. Right. And if they still make me laugh, okay, that's funny, but is it my responsibility to not perpetuate those types of things because of what it could do to the next mixed person that someone encounters? Like, I don't want it to steal my sense of humor away. And yet at the same time, I'm like a lot more heightenedly aware now that I was also making myself not enough.
Right. I agree with that. And I guess to like relate back to your question to how I'm parenting, I don't really know that I give my kids access to their mixedness, because they have it. I mean, it's there, and while we certainly we talk about, the Black experience and things relating to it, in the world and stuff more than, your random white family. And they do have access to their family in that regard. I don't know. I guess I need to like double back and talk with them about what that's like, because I know that they deal with the same stuff that I do. They deal with kids not knowing what you are and, dropping words that they shouldn't be using, and everybody's face swiveling to you. Like, are you going to tell him you're half Black and he can't say that, and
right. As if it was being half Black was the whole reason the other person couldn't say it.
Right. Like, and I'm like, what's wrong with the rest of you guys? Like, you should say, hey,
you should know. Right. But they haven't quite hit that age yet where they're dealing with their identity, where they're even questioning it at all?
They're getting there. They're 11 and 13, and they're steadily climbing that ladder and figuring it out. They got all their own stuff to deal with as well, with their dad and everything. So, well,
that's the thing too about that precious time. It was like you're already, just by nature of the age, you're dealing with your identity. What kind of teenager am I? Am I the jock? Am I the hot one? Am I popular? Am I a dork? You know, whatever the thing. And then you throw your race in there too, or your mixed heritage, and whether or not you are comfortable repping for any particular part of your ethnic group, or other people knowing, like you said, coming out of the closet. I've asked that question to a lot of people, like, how often do you come out as mixed? And then they're just like, what? Because it's just a jarring question, like, oh shit, I actually do that every day. Yeah. Yeah, you probably do. And then on top of it, to just be like other people influencing whether or not you're comfortable being yourself. That's a big part of
it is, because there are some people where I just I don't even want to go there. I know you see me as white, and I just don't have the bandwidth to try to convert you. You know what I mean? For you to see me. I know you're not going to see me how I want you to see me. And so I just don't even want to go there, Yeah.
And that sucks too. Like that we end up having to swallow that kind of stuff, And that, I guess that's, again, goes back to that whole creating my own little mantra for myself, is just like being my mixed ass self and not letting that. But it's so hard sometimes to get.
It is. But I think it's something that I'm sort of being able to be more braver and braver to sort of do that, because somebody has to do it. Otherwise, nobody's going to do it. And, if I, now like every day am more, being my mixed ass self, like if I'm not going to do it, then what is this, 15, 16-year-old girl going to do, when she comes across this guy who doesn't know what a mixed person looks like, or, or anything like that. Like somebody's got to say something, and it should be us.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I think this is the time for that to be a thing, because certainly no one's going to do it for us. And why should we wait?
It's not like we're going to, there are only more and more mixed people coming after us,
Right. Yeah.
I think it's going to be a thing.
I mean, I hope it is. I mean, because right now, like, mixedness is such a strange thing, right? As it stands, mixed people, there's a lot more famous mixed people doing first time things than monoracial people, I think, or maybe not a lot more, but Obama, they keep calling him the first black president, but he wasn't a black president. He was the first half African, half white American president. He's a biracial president. He's a multicultural president, because he also grew up in Indonesia and Hawaii,
But I think that's kind of part of the problem, is that I don't think that mixed kids know how deep their bench is. Like, all these people are mixed. Like, the media and like other people may be labeling them as black or as Asian or as something else, but like they're mixed like you, They just are getting stuck in this pigeonhole, but that's not the case, you know?
And when and I wonder if this is, you'd have to tell me, I wonder if this is more something that a biracial person would have to deal with than like in my case, being multiple, racial, whatever, multiracial, is once someone decides, well, I guess this probably happens to you a lot. Once someone decides what you are, you just have to be that. And if you dared, if Obama dared to correct people every time someone called him a black president or the first black president or whatever, that would kind of reduce his credibility, I think, with a lot of people. Halle Berry, they called her the first black woman to win Best Actress, but she's also biracial. She claims black, which makes sense because of her presentation. Her daughter is a quarter black and looks white,
but I think she presents as mixed, I mean, maybe I have different filters, for people, but
yeah, I mean, I see her as a biracial person or a light-skinned black person, but like light-skinned black person could mean all kinds of things. It could mean biracial person, or it could mean that 4 generations back, a person in your family was raped by a white person, there's so many.
So why should you have to claim that then,
Yeah. So that's another part of complication, is if it's involuntary mixedness, can you just say, no, I'm not this thing. I'm this, and this is what I'm going to be. I think there's room for that. But if it's voluntary mixedness and you're like, I know I don't look enough like blah, blah, blah for you, but for me and my experience, I am. So I'm going to go ahead and claim it, and you're not going to be able to tell me I can't. You know, like, I think mixedness is super complicated on, you know, on levels that a lot of monoracial people don't have to deal with.
But then you run into the Rachel Dolezal issue. You know what I mean? Woman. Nobody wants to touch that with a 10-foot pole.
I'll touch it. Trans Rachel is ruining shit for mixed people. Like, I have such an anger about her because she's not a transracial person. She's not a person that was adopted by another race and culture and raised in it. She's just a white woman who was raised by white parents, who didn't even grow up around black people, who decided she was going to be black, and then has exploited blackness on multiple levels to both fame and to money. I have a huge problem with people thinking that we are like her. And this has actually happened. Yes. I don't know how many times someone said, oh, you're on that Rachel Dolezal tip. And then I got to be out here screaming like a crazy right. person because I actually am mixed and I actually have a black experience in a yellow body, you know? Yeah. And she's, oh gosh, every time I hear her, I just like, oh, there's nobody I've ever wanted to take down more in my life. Honestly, there's nobody I've ever wanted to take down. There's a lot of other people where I'm like, you're problematic and I hate you too. But in her case, she's fucking shit up for me directly.
Exactly. No, I know. I totally agree because it's like now I'm like, can you just like, why'd you got to do the thing? Why you got to have the curly hair? Like she right. kind of looks like me, you know,
especially for the white presenting and sort of blondish, sandy blondish, because she kept that kind of hair color or whatever, especially for y'all. I assume she's even more problematic.
Public enemy number one.
Right. So, because my husband was asking me the other day, he was like, how did that even go that far? Like, how did it even go that far? And I was like, that is a person who was raised white asking a person who was raised black and revealing how little blackness that is understood in that place, because blackness is so complicated, because you could be 100% have two black dark-skinned parents and turn out white looking like some of our friends that we grew up around. Because this is possible, we weren't going to question that, like, right? Like, if you have the like, who would have thought that you have the audacity? She just
walked right
into
like,
the NAACP
magic. Like, what are you thinking?
Yes, like, we were not going to sit there and like black people as a whole, we're not going to be out there and be like, you're not black enough to be here. If she walked the walk and all that kind of stuff, they were just going to accept it. And it would never occur to us that someone would be that bold. And so now that she exists and we now know it, now we're on the hunt for it. So another element of how it impacts mixed people is, like you said, oh, you're lying. Right. There, you know, I imagine if it's not happening yet, I imagine it's something that probably does happen for some people. Like, oh, wait, you are far too pale. There is no way, you must be like a Rachel Dolezal. That's a different way of accusing us of lying, I guess, in that respect. Yeah, man, nothing gets me hotter than that. Like, I guess, and now she's got these line of mixed dolls, like different color, different they go from like a light brown all the way to a dark brown dolls. And you see...
and it's so shitty because that is something that makes kids need. Why are you the one making money from it?
You are not the person who needs to earn $1 for doing this. Like, right. She basically, I think the good that she did was make us aware of how important it is to investigate where we put our dollars. Like, it's totally unrelated to what she actually did, but it's part of the awareness she raised now. It's like, now I got to actively make sure that I'm putting my dollars in as many black and brown places as possible.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think before that like somebody could really take it that far. You know what I mean? And like how that even happens. And now I feel even less like I want to, you know, put a toe out and be like, hey, you know,
what a negative impact that she has on you, because you don't want to.
I don't ever want to be confused with that.
You don't want to be confused with that. But I think also even deeper, you don't want to inflict the pain that she inflicted just by your visual presence, you know, once someone got to know you and learned and things like that. But the thing is that we are visual people, you know, creatures. And so we're going to go from the looks before we go into who the person is. I have plenty of people that I'm friends with now who do just call me Black woman and just accept me as a Black woman. And I don't feel like my mixedness is being ignored necessarily, because I understand what they did individually in their journey in terms of their acceptance of me. But when they first met me, they had questions about how is this girl named Sharmane trying to be Black, looking yellow, living her life, but they had to learn about me to get to that point. In your case, going off, like, if you're just going to walk into a WFC room of some sort and be like, yeah, I know I look pale, but here's, you got to put out your credentials. Unfortunately, you would have to do that. And then after that, then it's like, oh, okay, this checks out. Now you can be one of us. That is a burden that you have to bear that is not your fault. And it's even more heightened because of somebody like her. And that's a whole nother negative output that she has that people aren't even talking about. Right. That's rage. But I guess we're getting to about that time, or we're way past that time. We're just talking. This has been such a different experience than some of the other recordings because, well, one, we've talked, a couple times at this point, both in, only once in chat, but
that was a long time too,
messengers and things like that. But also, like, the show is such a big part of the show itself is such a big part of how you're involved now versus just some random person that I connected with and was like, hey, I have a show. So it's a different experience. It's kind of neat to be able to talk to someone who has that much exposure to the show. And I hope that it is a healthy and safe place for you to be when you're both on the show, but also listening to the show. I hope you do feel represented and that you have it whenever you need to make that connection.
Absolutely. I mean, there is literally not an episode that goes by that I don't find something that I'm like, that's me right there. Like, I see you, and
isn't it crazy?
And often things are different, which is cool too. But every single episode, there's a piece that I can pick out that resonates with me and feels familiar. Yeah. And I've never had that. I've never had that in any other place or experience or anything like that. So it's super special.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm glad that it's had that impact, and it's just another way for me to reinforce like why it's important to keep it going, that we're out here needing it. And, if I feel this way, there's got to be more folks out there that feel this way. And I think you're definitely proof of that. So before we wrap up, is there any parting words or last thoughts that you have? I'm sure we can find tons of other things that we can bring you back for. So we're going to get a lot more return people over the course of this year. But do you have anything?
No, I just want to thank you for this space and making this possible. And, I think that while being mixed has all sorts of, confusion and questions into it, it's also, I think it's pretty special. I mean, I would certainly prefer it to being monoracial personally, because I have so much more to pull from. Yeah. I have so many more people that I can identify with and, resonate with, like mixed people, German people, Lakota Sioux people, Black people, it's sort of sprinkled throughout everywhere. It's given me all these ties to all these different people that I can, meet and share experiences with. And I think that's pretty cool.
I think you kind of answered the question that I was starting to forget. No, I totally forgot to ask. And then you started answering it. And I'm like, oh, good. She's answering the question I forgot to ask, which is just, what do you love about being mixed? I think that is a big part of what we get out of it, certainly. Well, thank you so much for coming on and working with me schedule wise and everything like that. I do hope that you come back and yeah,
I will. I know we've got other stuff that we can talk about.
Yeah. Militantly Mixed is a ManeHustle media podcast, produced and hosted by me, Sharmane Fury. Music is by David Bogan the One. You can follow us on social media on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Militantly Mixed. If you'd like to become a sponsor of Militantly Mixed, please go to patreon.com/militantlymixed for monthly sponsorship or paypal.me/militantlymixed for a one-time only donation. And if you like what you hear on Militantly Mixed, please subscribe, rate, and review on iTunes or wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to be your mixed-ass self. ManeHustle Media. Turn your side hustle into your main hustle.